Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Cooper Daniels, the host of the DigiMetaverse Show, and I'm excited to be here. We're kicking it off. Here we go. But is this technically the DigiMetaverse Show? No, it's not. We're still waiting on some artwork, some graphics, and we're going to be kicking it off in the new year with our first official DigiMetaverse Show. But until then, I wanted to give you somewhat of a DigiByte special. I've seen a lot of people questioning online, how will DigiByte be used in the DigiMetaverse? How is DigiCorp Labs gonna use DigiByte? Now, I get it. These are legitimate questions. And there's also questions out there about Threefold, because clearly DigiCorp Labs, Digi3, and Threefold, and DigiByte, all of it are interconnected, and it's a lot. A lot of people don't really have a grasp on what this all means. And I wanted to break that down for you. And then after I give you a quick breakdown on what's going on, we have an incredible interview with Jared Tate, the creator of the DigiByte Blockchain, and Rudy Bouwman, the co-creator of DigiCorp Labs, and also the vice chair of the DGB Foundation. It is a fantastic conversation. It's a long one. You should definitely stick around and watch it all the way through. All right, folks, I think most people understand that DigiCorp Labs intends to use DigiByte technology, right? You know, through hashing on the blockchain, through DigiID, authentication, things of that nature. DigiByte technology is fantastic. It needs to be used. But I think a lot of people, when they hear DigiByte technology, they immediately assume that has nothing to do with the DigiByte blockchain. It's just fancy word, it's just a fancy word salad for, yeah, we're gonna leverage some of the strengths of DigiByte in general, but we're not gonna actually provide any value to the actual blockchain. Okay, and I understand that concern, but there's a major thing. There's a few major things that you're leaving out if that's where this ends. If your exploration of this ends there, then you're missing a lot. First of all, you can look at DigiCorp Labs and the team that they have set up, and you can kind of gather what their intentions are, right? You're going to hear from Jared Tate, the creator of DigiByte, in this episode right now. And he has been hired to be an advisor, and you'll find out shortly that he sees a big need for DigiCorp Labs. And then you have Yoshi, who is one of the lead developers at DigiByte. They have hired him to be the lead blockchain expert over at DigiCorp Labs, and he is creating something called the DigiMetaverse Smart Layer. All right? Now, what is that? Well, that is going to be a layer 2 solution built on top of the DigiByte blockchain, right? I mean, so there you go. There you go, folks. You got Jared Tate as an advisor. You have Yoshi building out a DigiMetaverse Smart Layer that they are going to build on top of the DigiByte blockchain. And then on top of that, the DGMV token, which is currently on the Ethereum blockchain, will be migrated over to the DigiMetaverse Smart Layer. Now, in the white paper, they do allow for, investor input and yada, yada, yada. But if you look as a whole, if you look at the project as a whole, you can see what their intentions are. They are leading with DigiByte. They have the creator of DigiByte as an advisor, and they have one of the main developers over at DigiByte as their head blockchain expert. So it's not all that vague, folks. It's not all that vague what their intentions are. And their intentions are to build a layer 2 scaling solution, DigiMetaverse Smart Layer, on top of the DigiByte blockchain. They intend to allow for DGB, the DigiByte coin, to be currency in their DigiMetaverse ecosystem. They have hired the right people, and they're moving. And they also have Threefold. Now, I saw a video recently where they were discussing Threefold and DigiByte and wondering, are they using the Threefold blockchain? And, how is this all going to use DigiByte? Well, first of all, Threefold isn't necessarily really a blockchain or crypto play. I mean, it is. They have a blockchain, they have the TFT token, and they have an entire thing, but they're more a IT play. They actually use Stellar and they use Polkadot. And I talked to one of the main people over at Threefold, and the intention also is that in the future, the DigiMetaverse Smart Layer may be a solution outside of maybe Polkadot or Stellar. So, folks, the intentions are there, the solutions are there, and DigiByte is at the center of it. Okay, there's a lot to be excited about here. And after you hear Jared Tate and Rudy talk about it, I think you're going to be excited too. So without further ado, here we go. Jared Tate, the creator of the DigiByte Blockchain, and Rudy Bouwman, the co-creator of DigiCorp Labs, right now with me, Cooper Daniels. Let's get into it. All right, we're here with Jared Tate, the creator of the DigiByte Blockchain and an advisor to DigiCorp Labs, and also Rudy Bouwman, the co-creator of DigiCorp Labs, and also the vice chair of the DGB Foundation. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So let's just dive right in, and I'll start with you, Jared. So, in 2009, Bitcoin is created. And then what is it? 2011, 2012, Litecoin is created. And then we got 2014. Here comes DigiByte, something your creation. And I'm just wondering, what was it in 2014? What happened, that made you create DigiByte Blockchain, and what was that process?
So a lot of people don't know, but I actually had a working prototype in 2013. However, the official launch date wasn't until January 10th, 2014. Long story short, I started with Bitcoin in 2012, thought it was amazing, thought it was going to change the world. At the time, I actually put together a presentation to borrow $3,500 from my parents to buy Bitcoin at like $2.50. They thought it was crazy. However, I learned a lot. I started diving into the code. But I was like, I originally started as a miner. So I was mining a couple Bitcoin a day at one point in late 2012, just with a couple gaming rigs and graphics cards. Well, when the first ASICs hit, I calculated that I went from, I think at the time it was about a half Bitcoin a day by that time, like March of 2013. And I calculated after a couple of weeks when the first ASICs hit the market, it was going to be about another 6,000 days before I mined a single Bitcoin. So I was like, whoa, this is going to lead to some pretty massive mining centralization. And then I'm like, why do blocks have to be 10 minutes? So I started asking these questions, diving into the code, and I'm like, well, you know what? I think I could actually make a better version of Bitcoin that's faster, more secure, and more decentralized. So that was the initial vision. When DigiByte started, I had no idea it would be where it was today. I mean, it was kind of an experiment and in a way a code audition, hoping that Bitcoin core developers would take note and maybe integrate some of these things. So that's basically how it started.
Right. So in one of my videos, I had said that DigiByte was a fork of of Bitcoin, and somebody corrected me to say that it was actually a fork of Litecoin. But I think there's a gray area here that maybe people don't understand. So
so technically it was a fork of the Litecoin protocol because our first mining algorithm was just script. However, it was purely a code fork, which Litecoin was a fork of Bitcoin, and then DigiByte was a fork of Litecoin. However, it's its own independent code base at this point, but we do still share a lot of similarities between Litecoin and Bitcoin.
Right. And then also DigiByte and you there was some innovation. There's the multi-algo, there's DigiShield. What were these kind of innovations that you stumbled upon, or you not stumbled upon, but that you found to make this better? What about multi-algo and DigiShield was important at that time?
Well, a lot of people don't know, but if you go back to 2013, 2014, Litecoin was about a year and a half, 2 years old. Dogecoin actually launched, December of 2013, so about a month before DigiByte did. And we actually shared the same mining algorithm. So when DigiByte launched, I think we had 2-minute block timings. I can't remember. I mean, it's been so long. It's been 8 years at this point. It's hard to believe. But what ended up happening is there was something that was known back then as multi-pool attacks. And what that meant is a bunch of script miners would get together, combine their mining power. And at the time, there was a fair amount of script coins that had been created. So like I said, Dogecoin and DigiByte are the two that are still around, but there were others back then. However, we changed various things. Well, what would happen is all these miners would go from Litecoin, then they would leave everything. They would go to Dogecoin, leave everything, and then they would go to DigiByte. Well, when that happened, because the difficulty system that was still in Dogecoin, DigiByte, that was still Bitcoin system, which was the every 2016 blocks it would change. And when the difficulty would change, it would only change a small amount. Well, what would happen is when you had a 10 or 20 fold increase in hash rate, and then it left, the blockchain would actually freeze. So there was a time when our average time between blocks actually started going up into like 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes when it was supposed to be at 1 or 2 minutes, right? And then when we helped fix Dogecoin, so this, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So the reason we came up with real-time difficulty adjustment, DigiShield, and multi-shield was because we needed it to survive. And that's why once we created it, and we've been refining it, for several years now, and it's been adopted by numerous other blockchains. So there really is a technical need for UTXO blockchains to have real-time difficulty adjustments. So that's the short summary. I don't want to go into too much technical detail, but
no, but I understand. So basically, just in layman's term, these mining pools were hopping from each blockchain and scooping up all the easy to mine coins, and then once they did that, they would go to the next one, and they were freezing up all the blockchains. And then you guys were like, "All right, we got to fix this," and you fixed it. You saved Dogecoin, and now we're here, basically.
And Elon Musk
8 years later.
Right?
Yeah, and everyone's happy. All right.
Right.
So, Rudy, so you are also very involved in DigiByte and the vice chair, like I said, of the DigiByte Foundation. How did your journey? How did you end up with being involved with DigiByte?
Yeah, I've been in the IT space already for more than 30 years. I was even an engineer in the very beginning. I even built my own computer based on an 8080 processor, but it was not really a fun thing for me to do. So I felt more comfortable in some other positions in the company. So I've served different management positions in IT service companies. And my last position was a director of an IT service company here in the Netherlands. And in 2017, I got involved in DigiByte. I was involved in crypto for the first time, interested in blockchain technology. And when I was scanning different projects, I found DigiByte, and I was really amazed by it, because it was no ICO, a grassroots movement, all volunteers, and great technical features, especially the combination of speed, decentralization, and security. It's unique for DigiByte. And so that's why I got involved. And we also saw, together with some other people within the community, that there was a lack of marketing. And we decided to get together and to form a team. And we called it the DigiByte Awareness Team. And so I became one of the persons within the team for spearheading DigiByte for companies like exchanges, third-party wallet providers, payment processors. And I think we did quite well. We managed to get DigiByte listed and integrated on many platforms. And in 2019, together with Hans and Rutger, we decided to start the DigiByte Foundation to form a legal entity supporting the project. We were able to receive donations from the community, and with that, we were able to fund some of the development pipeline items, and also pay for hardware infrastructure costs. And by that, we are able to remove single point of failures.
Got it. And you mentioned Hans and you guys creating it. I did see he recently stepped down. So what is the future for the DigiByte Foundation now? He was the president. You're the vice chair. I mean, are you thinking that what's the process? What's happening over at the DigiByte Foundation?
Yeah, Hans was very busy in other projects, so he decided to focus on that. And Rutger and I have an appointment in the coming weeks to discuss about the future of the foundation. But it still will be continuing, but we have to find the right setup and the right direction for the foundation to make sure that is right for the community. We see the Alliance, we see DigiCorp supporting the projects and doing some things for DigiByte. So we have to make clear also to the community what will be the direction of the foundation moving forward.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned DigiCorp Labs. That's mainly why we're here today. I mean, that and DigiByte. So what brought, what was the idea? What, last year you had this idea for DigiCorp Labs. What was the initial idea and and how is it going so far?
Yeah. Well, Joshua van der Dijl, CEO, reached out to me in 2020, and we made an appointment. And Joshua saw the potential of DigiByte as being one of the main blockchains in the world. But he also acknowledged that DigiByte was not being utilized the way it should be. And while the fundamentals were very strong, stronger than most of the projects out there, as I mentioned, the combination of decentralization, security, and speed, that's the combination that you cannot find in any other blockchain. And therefore, he thought it's perfect for the metaverse. Most layer one solutions, as we all know, are struggling to find the balance in these three pillars. And we know that DigiByte is a decentralized community, is a grassroots movement with volunteers only, and therefore for enterprises, it's very hard to make service level agreements or to find the support or consultancy they need. So together with Joshua, we discussed how we could embed DigiByte technology in enterprise solutions so we can solve the security issues that will come up when the metaverse evolves. So, and we have to make sure that we are not making the same mistakes that when the internet was created. And we have to make sure that we control and own our data, and that we are taking care of the security, the privacy, and our sovereign identity. And so there is a real need for enterprise solutions for that kind of security. And we want to bridge that gap between the decentralized DigiByte blockchain technology and the centralized corporate enterprise solutions. And I have to say that Joshua and also Chantal had already the vision of the metaverse in 2020, even before Facebook was talking about it, even before crypto Twitter was talking about it. So I think we were very early with that vision. And that's how DigiCorp Labs was created.
And so, Jared, you're an advisor to DigiCorp Labs. What is your, how are you seeing this? What's your opinion on what DigiCorp Labs is doing? And, as an advisor, do you have any advice, like you'd like to share?
Yeah, and actually, before I kind of go into a little more detail about DigiCorp, I actually want to give everybody that's watching this a little background on what I personally went through with DigiByte between the years of 2014 and probably around 2018. There were a lot of times where I was invited or I was able to sit down in private meetings with some very, very large companies and groups. Some of these meetings occurred in Hong Kong, Singapore, New York, San Francisco. And I mean, it's very, very big names, mainstream banks, even Western Union. I spent 3 hours in their office one day. And a lot of this stuff I never publicly talked about because I didn't want to fuel speculation. I didn't want to fuel negativity, just anything.
Right.
But throughout all these meetings, and I'm literally talking about probably 100 plus over the course of 4 years, it always kind of ended the same way. And it's like, well, you're not a company. We can't acquire you. We can't buy DigiByte. We can't, how do we work with you? How do we create a prototype? How do we create a pilot project? Like, if we go to our board or our investors or our shareholders or our management, we've got to have some sort of, whether it's a non-disclosure or a memorandum of understanding, we've got to have something, and we need a legal entity to sign this with. And it was a very, very frustrating and tough thing because they're like, well, hey, you really are decentralized. This really is, but what do we do with it? They're like, we like what you're doing, but you just don't fit within our realm of business, right?
Right.
And just over and over and over again, this happened. So, this led me to try, and attempt a couple of commercial ventures of my own in order to do that. And that's where we had DigiSign and some other innovative stuff. But this has also been why I've long encouraged members of the community to, get together and start creating some commercial products, right? Because there's a demand, there is a need, and there's a want by corporate America or not just America, but global industries to incorporate blockchain technology. I mean, here in 2021, I feel like it's pretty much everybody's on the same page. Hey, this is going to play some role in the future. Blockchain technology is with us. It's not going away. That conversation was a little different in 2015, 2016. Corporations weren't quite sure about it. They were just trying to figure out what was going on, right? Well, that's completely different now.
Yeah.
And so, as some of you may know, I'm working on a new podcast that'll be launching in the near future. I'm not going to give a specific date, called Crypto Veracity. But the theme is decentralization is a spectrum, right? And on one hand, you have truly decentralized projects like DigiByte. And on the other hand, you've got the centralized, corporations or tokens or companies working towards decentralization, but they haven't got anywhere near to achieving it in reality. Well, there's drawbacks and there's positive and negatives to both sides. And so like on the DigiByte side, the point that I'm getting at is it's been tough to get any sort of mainstream, connections when it's really kind of impossible to partner with a decentralized blockchain, right?
Right.
So companies can build on top of it, they can use it, they can leverage it, they can add it, but there's this disconnect, there's this void between the way things have worked in our world for the last couple hundred years with corporations and companies and this new world that's emerging of true decentralization. And so that's where, after all the talks and stuff we've had with Rudy and the team and DigiCorp, they, I believe, are going to fill a crucial, critical role there moving forward to help bridge that gap. So it's kind of a long-winded explanation, but I think a lot of people need to understand that background.
Yeah.
Another story, just while I'm at it, there came a point when the Chicago Bulls and the NBA actually approached us about making DigiByte an official cryptocurrency of the Chicago Bulls, right? Well, they're like, well, we need to sign this. We need to, they also wanted us to pay them, but we're like, look, we don't have a company. It's decentralized. You can use us. And they're like, well, how does that work for our business arrangement? I'm like, it's decentralization,
Yeah.
So there's numerous other stories like that have never been publicly disclosed. Once again, a lot of the times heading into these meetings, I didn't want to fuel speculation because if you just announce, since we're on this, I guess I might as well finish. But when we did the City Tech for Integrity Challenge in 2017 in Singapore, where I was presenting our DigiSign solution that was being used in international trade to help track shipments on a blockchain. I presented directly to executives from Microsoft, Facebook, Citibank, and some other big players, right? I think Visa was there too. The morning I got up, I showed up, I got summoned. I was the first person to be summoned before all the bigwigs, and I found out they were actually going to kick us out of the event because of all the trolls on social media that were posting about DigiByte. And, there were some memes they didn't like, and we had to explain to them, hey, these aren't our people. Those are just passionate members of the community. We can't control them. They're going to do what they're going to do. And it was actually some of the younger staff members for Citibank that were like, hey, we're here for innovation and new ideas, and these guys are actually doing it. Let's at least hear them out. But a lot of people don't know we were actually going to get kicked out before we even got a chance to present or show up, right? But that has been the tension between corporate world and true pure decentralization. So, and I know a lot of people get frustrated. Why doesn't DigiByte have this partnership and this partnership? Well, there's never been any central pool of funds for marketing, for development, or anything. And so we have this true pure decentralized technology that benefits everybody. But a lot of people over here just have no idea how to use it or leverage it or do it. And that's a huge opportunity. So, anyway.
Right. So, I mean, look at that from what you just said, it sounds like history likes to repeat itself, so you've been, so especially when it comes to decentralization, because look, that has been from my small amount of time paying attention here and being involved it seems very difficult for a truly decentralized project to get to get kind of mass adoption, or I mean, Bitcoin did it, and that's kind of, it was the first one, and it's not mass adoption, but it's obviously widely known, and you can go to all corners of the earth and people will accept Bitcoin. And it seems like a difficult thing. And then, if corporate, these kind of connections. So obviously DigiCorp is a great opportunity to be that more centralized thing that these businesses can team up with, and they can team up with them, and they can be the corporate venture that helps people use DigiByte technology, right? And then also with the online trolls, because like are not even necessarily trolls, or just people that have opinions or questions and they're aggressive about it, or however it is. It does always seem it's hard to make progress. It's hard to make progress because not everybody can agree. And then in a corporate setting, you get everybody on the same page and you move forward. But in a decentralized setting, it can be harder to do that. And so I guess that will lead me to the next question. So why do you both, and we'll start with you, Jared, why do you think that decentralization is important? I guess,
Well, the analogy that I gave in my book, Blockchain 2035, and I like to use to people, I get people all the, I've had almost 10 years of doing this when they're like, hey, what is a blockchain and why does it matter? Right?
Yeah.
Well, the analogy I give is I'm like, okay, say all the DNA in your body, instead of being spread throughout, is just in your fingertip, right? Mm-hmm. And you were, going to chop some vegetables for a meal, or maybe some limes for a cocktail, and you slipped and you cut your finger off. Well, you'd be hosed because, you wouldn't have all the important instructions for how your body replicates itself, and you would slowly wither and die, and, you'd cease to exist, right? Well, right. That is how we architect all of our data systems in the world right now. That's why every day you see new cyber breaches, new hacks, and it's just gotten so common that it doesn't even faze people anymore. And pretty much every single one of us and every single person watching this, you've had your identity stolen multiple times in different ways, probably in the past year even, right?
Right.
And the other analogy I like to give people is think of a forest, right? If all the forest, all the DNA, all the instructions for how to replicate new trees was just in one tree, and that tree was struck by lightning, well, the forest would cease to exist. But that's not the case. If you go chop one tree down, you still have thousands, millions of more, trees out there, right? Depending on the variety of it. Well, that's really what decentralization is with a blockchain. It's the approximation in computer science of mimicking the natural systems that exist in nature and have allowed biological species to survive and thrive. And so this idea of decentralization of computer systems is very important because it's key to our future. I mean, and this is the thing, the future is digital. We're approximating an insane amount of adoption and growth in automation, robotics, AI, and the blockchain is the key to securing and ensuring a future where it's not all just gobbled up by one entity, right? Where we all have a voice. We can protect our digital data. We can protect our digital privacy. And what we do is not just becoming the product of some corporation far off that wants to dictate and run our everyday lives. So decentralization is extremely important, moving forward. And then it's not just personal. I mean, you look at these attacks on the power grid infrastructure. And in my book, I rely on the over-reliance of DNS systems and how it's the Achilles heel of the internet. You can literally take the internet down. And a lot of people don't know it was actually set up to be that way here recently, where if the government needed to, you try to go to a website and it all gets forwarded to one single website, right? So decentralization is the most important thing, moving into the future.
Right. And so, Rudy, DigiCorp Labs, it's a central entity. It's a corporation. It's in the name. And so, but it's using DigiByte Blockchain and, other blockchains, frankly, and it looks to be somewhat of a blockchain agnostic. But how do you kind of bridge that gap between being a central entity and also supporting decentralization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first, there's not much to add to what Jared said about decentralization, but what we see that there is a paradigm shift. Not only consumers see the need for a decentralized solution, but also enterprises. We are becoming the product, and also enterprises don't want to depend on centralized third parties anymore, because there are single point of failures. And we as a company using decentralized technology as our foundational layer. That means threefold grid. Threefold shares the same value as the DigiByte community, as we at DigiCorp. And we are all for freedom, ownership of your data, decentralization, secure access. So threefold grid is a truly decentralized grid. It's like a blockchain, but the nodes, they call it farmers, they provide capacity to the grid. Could be storage, could be CPU, memories, and they get TFT token in return for what they provide. We add DigiByte Blockchain security on top of that as the base layer for the solutions we are building. So for the DigiByte technology is being used in our technology for secure authentication and passwordless login with using the DigiID technology. And the DigiByte blockchain is being used for recording the activities that will be stored in DigiByte blockchain using hashing. Because you have to imagine that, unfortunately, not all employees can be trusted. Employees are, especially employees on crucial positions, are targets for criminals. They can be corruptible. And enterprises want and need a trustless system where activities like, for example, admin that are making system mutations, or people on crucial roles in the IT. There is a need for a trusted system. And so if we record these activities and have them validated and immutable in the DigiByte blockchain, so they are verifiable, then you remove that risk. And we see the need for enterprise customers for this kind of logging.
Right.
So from a technology perspective, in short, secure authentication and hashing on the DigiByte blockchain.
Got it.
DigiByte as a currency is something we promote, because we all know that DigiByte is the ultimate payment in a global, decentralized digital environment like the Metaverse.
And can I add something to that, Rudy?
Yeah, sure.
So, a lot of people, and I'm seeing some of the comments on social media, like, oh, DigiCorp's going to replace DigiByte. That's not it at all. There have been several hundred companies that have added DigiByte, have used DigiByte, whether it's a trading platform or it's exchange or payment gateway, or they've used DigiByte to hash documents or to create new ideas. There have literally been hundreds of companies at this point that have leveraged or used or been built on top of DigiByte in some way. But most of them, because some of the public drama, I'll just leave it at that, that's been associated with it, they didn't want their brand tied to it. So they didn't feel like either endorsing DigiByte or, more importantly, giving back to DigiByte. There's very, very, very few groups or companies or platforms that have actually given back to the open source protocol. And that's where I really want to, thank Rudy and the DigiCorp team, is that they are publicly going out saying, hey, we believe in DigiByte. It's great. We're going to support it. We're going to build on it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's projects that I can tell you that are using DigiByte right now for some very innovative things that never publicly wanted it to be known. And it's frustrating for me, right? However, that's the beautiful thing about a truly decentralized blockchain. People are free to use it however they wish and however they want. And that's where I think it's important for people to kind of understand a lot of the context and the background of what's really kind of going on here.
Yeah, you're right. There is not only that that DigiCorp is using the technology, DigiByte technology, blockchain technology in our own technology, but also we're giving back to the community, and we're helping the DigiByte core development, because as you know, we are going to develop a smart layer on top of the DigiByte blockchain, which is uh, supporting Solidity contracts, and which is interoperable. So it's having the benefits of the DigiByte blockchain, and so that's something we do. And also with the DigiWare Digi Academy entity,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to invest in not only in development of the smart chain, but also in some of the other pipeline items and tool chain. So we are looking to develop so-called zero configuration development environment, and with multi-language SDKs, software development kits.
Mm-hmm.
With DigiWare, we are creating an environment where developers can learn about blockchain, where they can share information. So there's a lot of education there as well, but also documentation, which is crucial. So yeah, I think there are a lot of topics for the developers community and for the community in general that should be very excited about what we're doing, because
Right.
we're really going to invest a lot of money into the DigiByte project in the development of the chain. And yeah, so
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and
look,
this,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I was just going to say that, this problem of how do you fund open source development? I mean, it's a problem Bitcoin's having right now. I mean, I think there was 3 Bitcoin core developers that just said they were stepping down because,
I saw that.
even with a $1 trillion market cap, there's very few companies in the Bitcoin ecosystem that pay to have a Bitcoin developer on staff or, to contribute back to the code. And it's a very real problem. But
Right.
my vision for this has always kind of been, hey, I see an ecosystem with numerous, groups and companies, multiple DigiCorps doing their own innovative thing in their own innovative industries, and
Mm-hmm.
from those, each one gives a little bit back, and everybody benefits from it. And it's very similar if you study the history of the Linux Foundation, and the difference between Red Hat as a corporation and the various branches, but it's an ecosystem, right? And everybody might tend to follow a little bit different path, a little bit different idea, but at the end, it's the same underlying foundation of a truly decentralized DigiByte blockchain.
Right. I mean, look, folks, I mean, it couldn't be any more clear with what you guys are saying and why this is necessary. And I think this is really helpful. I think this should be very helpful for everybody. And so I just to understand the DigiMetaverse smart layer. So it's currently going to be built on the Ethereum blockchain, and then the plan is to migrate it to the DigiByte blockchain. No,
the smart layer will be built on the DigiByte blockchain, not on the
that's
Ethereum.
it. That's it. And then the DGMV token will be migrated over to the DigiByte blockchain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The DGMV token is being built on Ethereum, and
Mhm.
we all know why. And Jared knows that back in 2020, when we just had the idea of DigiCorp, and Jared can confirm that we had a meeting with the whole core team DigiByte discussing the possibilities of launching a token on top of the DigiByte blockchain, and also talking about what if we are choosing Ethereum, and but I think it's clear that we all know that DG Assets and also DG Asset X and other platforms that are being built, these are not really good enough yet or matured enough to launch a token. And also from an investor's perspective, it makes more sense to choose Ethereum at this moment when doing the ICO.
Right.
But of course, when the smart layer is finished and we have the possibility to migrate ERC20 tokens, yes, for sure.
That's what's going to happen.
Then let's use DigiByte.
Yeah. And so how will that, just so I can understand better, how will that work with Threefold? So the Threefold grid is basically an internet layer, correct? I mean, that's their aim has been to decentralize the internet, right? And so will the DigiByte blockchain be run on the Threefold internet? And then what is the levels here? How does this work?
Yeah. Well, the solutions that are being built, like the quantum safe storage, the secure video conferencing, secure web browsing, everywhere where you need to authenticate yourself, we will use the DGID technology. Also in the enterprise solutions where this audit trail is required, as I've explained earlier, and these fingerprints will be stored on the DigiByte blockchain.
And then what about, so will the DigiMetaverse smart layer just be built on the DigiByte blockchain as we know it and has nothing to do with threefold? Is that
so the DigiByte blockchain will always be independent, right? It's always going to be its own independent thing that's relying on nothing but itself, right?
Absolutely.
DigiByte is not going to change. The DigiByte is not going to change. It will be always the same open source. But
yes, and I think it's really important that everybody understands that. But I guess my question is so the DigiMetaverse smart layer will be built on the DigiByte blockchain, end of story. That really will have nothing to do with the threefold blockchain or the TFT token or anything like that. I've been seeing some stuff circulating online and people are concerned about, wait, is this going to be threefold? We don't understand. But the DigiMetaverse smart layer is going to be built on the DigiByte blockchain. And that's basically a layer 2 solution on top of the DigiByte blockchain. And then once that is going and you have Yoshi working on it, and I'm sure other people, then you're going to be able to migrate the DGMV token from Ethereum over to that smart layer. And then now Ethereum will be cast aside and it'll be a DigiByte threefold, all the solutions will be in on those two blockchains, and then that's how that you're going to move forward.
Yeah, it will benefit from the great features that DigiByte is offering, because as I mentioned before, there are a lot of layer 1 solutions that are struggling with the combination of security, decentralization, and speed. And if you have to compromise one of these features, then you have some risk. And we have seen that lately with some projects. So that's why I think DigiByte is the best layer 1 solutions for layer 2 to be built on.
Got it.
So to further reinforce this point, without a doubt, I truly believe DigiByte is the most decentralized, fastest, and most secure layer 1 solution that stands on its own, right? And a lot of newcomers, they come to crypto, they see all these tokens, they go to CoinMarketCap. I call it the market cap fallacy. People don't realize that the majority of those, whether they're stable coins or other tokens, are actually fully reliant on another protocol, right? Which typically has been the case with Ethereum. And the reality is Ethereum has built the broadest infrastructure. I mean, there's been hundreds of millions, billions of dollars poured into building it. And here we are with DigiByte that's focused for the last 8 years on making the most solid, robust layer 1 solution possible. Well, our attempts at a layer 2 was created by a handful of volunteers. And that was, our first attempt at DigiAssets. So it just didn't have the infrastructure in terms of wallets, in terms of the backend, and some of the technical capabilities that has been built out on Ethereum. However, Ethereum's got a lot of issues. And, I'm not here to slam it or to do it, but there's been a lot of innovation there too. So the idea is, and not to mention that's where the investment capital in the pool is at the moment at this point in time. So, and Rudy can attest to this. My first stance was, it would be great if we did it on DigiByte, but I acknowledge that there's challenge for an initial launch, and not to mention the regulatory uncertainty and everything else. So, and I think that's important for people to clearly understand, hey, this is a moment in time, and, this company really is working hard. I mean, I think the first time Rudy and I had a conversation about this, it was over 1.5 years ago or more. It may have been almost 2 years. So the amount of time, energy, and effort that the team has put into this over the last 1.5 years, has been tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Go ahead, Rudy. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, what people seems to forget is that we're not just doing an ICO. We are having another different approach than some of the other ICOs we know from the past, especially in 2017. We know there are a lot of projects out there, a lot of good ideas, a lot of bad ideas. We also know that many ICOs are failing. They're burning money and not able to come with a real product. So the white paper they created was just an idea. And the team is also most of the time some young unknown people that are looking for building something great. And we are different. We started in 2020. We were self-funded. We set up the corporate structure. We're building the team. We are using the best mature technologies we could find. Threefold is almost 7 years old, or even more than 7 years. DigiByte, also 8 years old in January. So they're all tested and battle hardened.
Mm-hmm.
So we're combining these technologies. We already have some enterprise solutions which are ready for POC, for proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
We even have the customers. You see the deal we've signed with Liquid Moly a few days ago.
Yep.
So this is really substance. This is not just an idea on a white paper. And now we are almost 2 years ahead. And now we're doing the ICO to really get to the next level. And we're all seasoned people. We're not young crypto cowboys. We're all. I'm 55 years old in January. You can look at our profiles on LinkedIn. We all have a track record and a reputation. We're not putting that on the line for just some kind of gamble project. No, it's this is serious stuff here.
Yeah, and it
make business sense.
Absolutely, and to me, it shows some vision too. The fact that you've been working on this for a couple of years and you're focused on the metaverse, and and if you look at what's happening around us right now, I mean, the metaverse is all the rage, or however you want to put that. So I guess that leads me to this, because we are going to be doing the DigiMetaverse show. So I think we should probably talk about the metaverse and the future of technology. So I guess I'll just leave it up to you to kind of give me what your ideas, your thoughts are. And we'll start with Jared. Like, what do you see as the future of technology, the metaverse, us embodying the internet almost in certain ways, and how our security and our privacy and our data, I mean, all of that, like, what do you see the challenges and also the positives of where we're headed?
Yeah. So first and foremost, this is one of those things that, I tend to get very excited about new ideas and new technology. If anybody that's followed me for a while, and then I have a lot of ideas rattling around up here, but what I can be sure of, and I can tell you, is the world as we know it is about to radically change over the next 2 to 5 years. The unprecedented rate of the advancements in technology across all fields, artificial intelligence, genetics research, automation, robotics, it's just very profound, right? Mm-hmm. The way that we experience the internet right now is very two-dimensional. We're either looking at it at a computer screen or we're looking at it on our phones, right? And that's basically been how it's been since, the mid-90s even, right? Yeah, maybe there's higher resolution, but it's very much 2D. And I've been a huge proponent of what I used to call augmented reality. I think I first started working on some augmented reality apps, even going back to like 2009, 2010. It's just that the hardware and the infrastructure wasn't there, right? But I envisioned a day when I could be driving down the road with like a little heads-up display, either on my windscreen or my windshield in my car, or maybe some glasses, where it would say, hey, turn left here, turn right here. Oh, here's the special at this restaurant, or hey, this is where so-and-so lives. Just some, this augmented, inclusion in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Well, then I think it was 2017, 2016. I can't remember when Oculus Rift came out. And I got one of the first Oculuses. And I think I spent 2 weeks just messing around, trying out different things, different experiences. And it really kind of blew my mind. And in fact, I actually was trying to organize a virtual developer experience back in like 2017 or 2018 with a couple of the other DigiByte devs. I just couldn't convince them to get a VR headset. But the cool part is I'm one of those people. I've got like 5 monitors. It looks like a command NASA space station kind of setup here. well, with my VR headset, I actually have my VR headset here next to my computer. I'll actually move with the Oculus controllers. I'll have 8 monitors with different things, with different information coming in real time. So the way that we experience the web, as this technology comes, the hardware comes, is going to dramatically change. And I was having this conversation with my parents a couple days ago, and I'm like, when we're sitting around for the holidays 3 to 5 years from now, instead of everybody messing around on their phones, they're going to have some sort of headset or eyeglasses, and it's going to look like everybody's just off in another world, because they will be, right?
Yeah.
And the use cases are just amazing. So one of the things I do, I'm originally from Idaho, which is one of the most rural parts of the United States. I grew up, I was an Eagle Scout, I was a Boy Scout. I love camping. I love the great outdoors. I love getting out there. Well, what I started doing about 2 years ago is I would fly around in VR on Google Earth, which is amazing. And I would find the most off the wall, obscure camping spots just from, being there first. And I found some completely beautiful places that aren't even like on the map. Right.
Right.
So those kind of experiences,
That's cool,
combined with the way that we interact with people, here we are, it's very kind of impersonal. I've always found when I do video interviews, it's okay. Yeah, it's better than just talking on the phone or sending text messages, but it's not like being there in person.
No.
So as, graphics, rendering technologies, computer processing allow us to basically create almost realistic, it's already there, right? With CGI and stuff, where they could create a 3D model of you. And if I go in there with the latest, Oculus headset or HTC headset, it's hard to, your brain thinks you're sitting there looking at a real person. And as like haptic gloves and different sorts of sensory perception devices start emerging, which, there's some pretty significant prototypes that are out there that are going to be hitting the market in the next 12 to 18 months. It's going to revolutionize the way we experience and interact. And just like Netflix, put Blockbuster out of business. I'm old enough to remember when I would go to Blockbuster and rent some VHS tapes, and then I would forget to take them back, and I'd get hit with a late fee. Well, look at it now. For the cost of one movie rental in the late 90s for a new hit, you get unlimited viewing on your phone, on your device, wherever you want. Well, that kind of change is coming dramatically to numerous industries. So whether it's real estate, going and touring a house, like I've actually talked to a couple of real estate agents that do these VR tours, to just social media engagement. The way that we do all these different things with this interconnected 3D web 3.0, it's going to change dramatically, right? And I think a lot of people can't really see and comprehend it. But what's important when that change happens is that we are the stewards of our data and our privacy and our identity in these coming digital worlds.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And first, and then I'm going to get to you. I do want to add this, that when I was 15 years old, I was an assistant manager at Blockbuster Video. So I'm intimately, or 16 probably. I made it to assistant manager when I was 16, but I started working there at 15. There we go. And those late fees were ridiculous.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But so, that was one of the things that I kind of really started to get me to understand where this was headed, is that right now, I think that there is the capability to hold a meeting with an avatar. And then when you're in that meeting in a virtual sense, like when somebody speaks, maybe you're around a table and somebody speaks, it comes from the right, or if they're speaking from you over there, it's like you have like a spatial, and that's only going to get more and more advanced. So clearly we're headed to this, and it is so important that our data and our security and our privacy are taken care of, and that we're in control of that. And obviously that is one of the main focuses of DigiCorp Labs, right? And Rudy, so what do you see with the metaverse and the future of technology?
I always say the metaverse is where atoms meet bytes. It's a combination where real life and digital life will interact with each other. It's an evolution of the internet. It's not just about gaming or virtual reality, but I think it's much bigger. Also, businesses will have experience in the metaverse. I think it's expanding. It's always expanding. It's needing a lot of capacity It needs to be scalable. It's requiring a lot of CPU speed, memory, data storage. So yeah, the internet today, I agree with Jared, it's two-dimensional. It's not designed for it's not even designed for our online experience we're having today. All these data breaches, the privacy concerns, the ransomware attacks. So what will happen if the metaverse is taking off? Then we really need to have another way of organizing the underlying infrastructure, and also make sure that our data is ours and it's safe, that we are in control of our data, that we're not becoming the product again, because at this moment we are the product.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The amount of potential and benefits, and I know this term metaverse and it's kind of got a negative connotation in some of the alternative news sources I follow, and I get it. People's first instinct of something they don't understand is to attack it, right?
Yeah.
To see the negative, to see the dark side. Right. And I'm not saying there can't be a dark side to this technology eventually, if we end up like the Matrix, right, where we're all just like plugged into a machine. But, to give you some real world examples, like I shared the camping, finding good camping spots. But also part of that is having situational awareness where if I have an emergency, I know where to go because I know where the surrounding area is. Right. Mm-hmm. But another example I wanted to give is so I'm a pilot. I learned to fly when I was 17. I've flown airplanes and helicopters. Well, with my Oculus setup and a yoke I actually have a flight simulator. And to be honest, I can't tell you the difference when I'm actually in it flying a Cessna 172 versus actually going over to the airport over here and renting a real one. It's that realistic. So in terms of education opportunity, if you're a young kid or early kid and you've always wanted to learn to fly, for a few $100 and you already have a computer, you literally can learn everything you need to learn how to fly. And in fact, the FAA actually recognizes that as simulator training time, as long as it's under the supervision of an instructor, right?
Wow.
So, my brother was in the Air Force for 20 years, and we've had a lot of conversations. He oversaw a lot of training and engineering, and he explained some of the things they're doing with VR, where like on an aircraft engine, in training, they can actually pick it apart, take all the parts, and it's all in VR, right? It's not like they're actually having to have a real jet engine and a real thing. So when it comes to education and learning, one of the things the metaverse is going to do is it's going to be an absolute explosion of information and real world training that's never been available before. I mean, they're taking heart surgeons and using them with VR headsets to train them how to do surgeries now, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So as this world emerges, this is going to be the draw that brings people in, because like I said, if I know that I get some glasses that I can put on as I'm driving down the road that's going to give me real-time information, or some sort of thing that says, hey, there's a deer coming out of the side, that's the kind of technology that we're going to benefit from, right? Yeah. But what if, hypothetically, and I was thinking about this because I just made a cross-country drive, right? And I was just thinking about all the possibilities of things are going. Well, what if I'm driving down the road and I've got my, I don't know the term for them yet, but I know it's going to exist. Google tried it with the Google glasses, but let's just say the Tater lenses, right? That's what I'm going to call it for now. And it's giving me this idea is, well, what happens if somebody hacks in to the data source feed from where that's coming from and projects a semi in front of me that just, shows up, or a deer, and like gives me misaligned bad information, and I hit my brakes and cause a pileup, right? Because I think in my display that I'm about to get in a massive accident. Well, these are real world problems that are going to happen, right? And so this is, it literally is going to become, as we see augmented reality and the metaverse start blended into the real world, it's going to become a matter of life and death in a lot of situations, and that's why we need to take the idea of safeguarding the privacy and data, seriously.
Yeah. One of the things, that was a great example, by the way. And one of the things that, when people are talking to me about the metaverse and they're like, I'll never do that. I will never put one of those goggles on. That's never. And I always, we go through a thing. And the thing that always gets people is when you mention maybe a concert, they're like, oh, well, maybe a concert would be cool. Maybe I would like to go to a concert with one of those things. And then it's like, yeah. And then guess what? When your friends start meeting up in the metaverse and they invite you to go, you're going to want to probably participate. So it's just the way we all think that, oh, Netflix is never going to work. All of these new technology we always kind of dismiss. I mean, and then, the security, and then also another downside that I see to it that we have to be aware of is mental health, of course, because as we kind of mix the real and the virtual, younger people could get into a situation where, it starts to blend what's real and what's not. And I think that we need to be active about that and making sure that, kids understand that there is trees and the forest and the outdoors and stuff like that. I mean, that's important to me as a father and all that. But as of young children that are entering into my kids are 7 and 5 years old. And when they get to be an adult, when they're moving out on their own, 18, 20, this world is going to look so, in the next 10, 15 years, it just, from my vantage point, it seems like it's going to be a very different place where we live. And it's good. It's good that we have guys like you. I mean, you guys, I have to say, I'm already excited about this project, but talking to you, Jared, has got me really excited. It's got me excited about DigiByte. It's got me excited about the future of what DigiCorp Labs is trying to be, and also the metaverse and just that future of technology. So, this is great. What else did I want to,
Well, can I add one more thing onto that?
Of course.
We're talking about this vision in the future, and it's important for people to understand it is going to happen quickly. It's just not going to happen overnight, right?
Right.
There's going to be incremental steps in adoption on how we get it. Think about it this way. For those of you that are old enough, remember where you were in 2000, let's say, I'm going to say 5, right? 2005, I was in high school. I didn't have a cell phone. When I went to go on a date, I actually had to call up the landline, talk to her dad and her mom on the phone, and ask them what time I could pick their daughter up, right? Versus a teenager today, right? But think about the evolution of phones and other technology in 15 years' time, right? Everybody is glued to this device that they carried around everywhere they go. And if you go out in public, it's kind of obnoxious because sometimes they run into you on the street because they're just looking and texting, right? That's going to change. And the tech's already there where they can even have a contact lens that basically projects, different items onto your retina. And I think about the world where I put in my contact lens and I'm driving down the street and I have this real-time data coming in that says, hey, this vehicle in front of you is traveling at 67.2 miles per hour. It just accelerated to 75 and it's swerving towards you. And it flashes, obviously it's going to be a real-time indicator. Hey, I need to slow down. Well, that's beneficial, right? Or, hey, this restaurant over here is closed. This restaurant over here is open. Oh, this restaurant has a special. And it's a real-time data augmentation is going to be extremely useful to people for various use cases. Like I said, if you're a surgeon and you're looking at a patient and you have this sort of device that has, basically all the different vital signs going on. How is that going to help you be a better surgeon? It will help you build, data augmentation will help everybody be better. And it's going to be a blend. And that's why people are going to adopt it. The key is we just got to make sure as these new technologies emerge, we make data privacy and security a primary focus. And I have long said that blockchain, it just didn't come out of nowhere, right? A blockchain is like a car. It has different parts. There's the transmission, there's the motor, and all those different parts are different mathematical cryptographic innovations that were often top secret or classified for a long time. But the evolution of that science of mathematical precision and absolute truth goes back hundreds of years, right? So that's where blockchain becomes the rails for either artificial intelligence or the backbone for a metaverse to exist in to safeguard data privacy and information, as well as finances and other things.
But there still will be central entities in the metaverse. I see the metaverse as a universe, and within the universe you have different galaxies. Facebook is a central galaxy, and what we are building is a technology for decentralized galaxies.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know. And then, Meta or Facebook, they give lip service to saying that the metaverse needs to be interoperable and all that. But it seems unlikely. My personal opinion is trusting them to be the stewards of the metaverse is not a great idea.
They have a trust issue, yes.
I
That's
think
true. But people have a choice. Do they want to
absolutely.
decentralize or centralize the metaverse? It's up to them.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, this has been great. I have a couple more. I have one more question, and it's completely off topic. And I hope I'm not, taking any kind of the subject from your first podcast, which is crypto veracity, and I think everybody should look out for that. But I think your first episode was going to be themed, who is Satoshi Nakamoto, right, Jared? Was that?
No, the first name was going to be what is decentralization, right?
Okay, but you were going to talk about Satoshi.
Well,
right?
I still am. I'm still going to. I got some interesting tidbits about Satoshi Nakamoto and his references to decentralization.
Okay, great. And then so who do you, I think you think it's a British guy that's Satoshi, correct? Am I right about that?
Well, basically, if you look at the way that he has spelled the word decentralized, it's the British way, right? With an S instead of a Z. So whoever was involved with the creation of, I think Satoshi, according to his post, used the word decentralized or decentralization 3 times that I've been able to find. And every single time it was used with an S, which means either they were, trained academically in a British educational environment, or, they were British or grew up in a British territory or former British colony, right?
Or they could be trying to get you off the scent. I guess
some people say that, but if you look at the conversations that were made and the way they were made, that would have been a definitely, I don't think it would have been a primary thought at the time, just because if you look at the context of the conversations that they were made in. But with that being said, yes, there's still that possibility. So there's no definitive proof. And then there's those of some people ascribe to the idea that Satoshi was actually a team. And, one of the people on the team happened to be
Adam back or something, or
right.
I always thought it was I've been of the mind that it's one of your Twitter friends, Nick Szabo. I think a lot of people think that, but Nick Szabo, Hal Finney, I think all those guys knew each other, right? Nick Szabo, Hal Finney, and Adam back, right?
Yeah, they all I think they did. But here's my other final, I won't give everything away, but I'll say, but in terms of that specific question, what Bitcoin is today is the culmination of hundreds of different people's code and ideas and stuff. And so the actual core idea, it started with Satoshi, but even the first, like version 3, what are they, version 22 now? Even by version 3, the majority of the code wasn't even Satoshi's. So what we know as Bitcoin today is the accumulation of hundreds, if not thousands, of different talented people from across the globe. And I think that's important for people to keep in perspective. And the same's true with DigiByte at this point.
Right. How about you, Rudy? Do you have an opinion on who Satoshi is? Do you have
I really have no idea. No.
And these are the types of questions that I'm interested in. I think other people are interested too, so that's okay. I'm not gonna apologize for that question. All right, guys. So, is there anything else that I feel like I feel good about this. Are you? Is there anything else you'd like to add, Rudy or Jared? Or
yeah, I guess in conclusion, and Rudy can attest to this. I have long encouraged people, if you have an idea, if you have a vision, if you want to go out and build something, and you want to build it on top of DigiByte, do it. I'm very excited for the future potential of what DigiCorp Labs offers, but there's also other groups out there doing other things, and I've got some other personal projects. And it's important for people to understand what we're trying to create is an ecosystem that benefits everybody, and people can participate in different ways. And the thing about DigiByte is you don't need any permission to build on top of DigiByte. You don't need any permission to get involved, to do stuff, to start stuff, start putting out videos and content. It literally is up to you.
Right.
And that's one of the things I've tried to do as the founder is over time, I've given away control of stuff. I've moved back. I've turned it over to other people to the point where I see myself eventually, not fading away into the abyss, but it's just become such a big ecosystem that, I don't really, most of the time now I learn about stuff on social media through other people.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I just encourage people to get involved and to step up. I mean, there is no central form of control over DigiByte. There's no central company. There's no central group. And I myself, as the founder, I mean, I can honestly tell you, I have less than a fraction of less than 1%, and it's very small, right? And all the DigiByte I have, I've mined, or I wish I had more. I'm trying to figure out ways to get more, right? Because I truly believe we're going to be one of the only projects that are still here 10 years from now, 5-10 years from now. And just like if you went back to 2013, 2014, and you looked at the coin market cap top 100, there's maybe 5 of those projects that are still around. And I can't tell you how many projects that I actually kind of like that are completely dead now. So, we've stood the test of time, and I have no doubt, because of the foundation that we've built now, DigiByte's going to succeed well into and beyond the year 2035.
Yeah, and it seems to me that if, DigiCorp Labs is successful, if DigiAssetX is successful, if the DigiByte Alliance in Wyoming is able to do big things, if all of those things are successful, that's just a great, great thing for DigiByte, and, and more adoption and more people understanding it and getting to use this truly decentralized technology. I think,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Rudy, any last words?
No, nothing to add to that. It's completely true what you're saying. It's great to see all the community members doing their own thing in this decentralized environment. And yeah, it's permissionless, so it's great. We're all decentralized. We're all working in one ecosystem. So yeah, that's great.
Great. All right, everybody. Well, thank you, Jared. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you so much for joining us. The first episode of the official DigiMetaverse show will be January 8th, 2022. But today we got the good fortune of talking to Jared and Rudy. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, folks, how was that? I mean, come on. Wasn't that great? If you made it all the way to the end and you're here right now, put a comment down below. Let us know you made it to the end and give us your thoughts on what Jared was talking about. It's pretty exciting to me to hear how excited he is about the future of technology, right? I mean, look, folks, he was a fantastic, I have to admit, I was excited to talk to Jared Tate, and then actually talking to him, I was really impressed. I mean, not that it's surprising that he was impressive, but I was just really impressed. And I really enjoyed that. So thank you, Jared, for taking the time. I hope to get you back on soon. And Rudy, of course, like always, great at explaining things. And that's it, folks. All right, look. So like I said, we're getting started with the official DigiMetaverse show in the beginning of next year after the holidays. More details about that to come, but we'll be announcing our guests and our first date very, very soon. And yeah, you know what, everybody? Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever kind of thing that you celebrate during this time. I hope you have a fun new year, and we're going to be checking in with a lot of content, a lot of conversations, a lot of interviews, a lot of jokes, and a lot of different fun things come the new year. Next year, 2022, is an exciting time. Hold your DGB, get your DGMV, do whatever it is you want to do, really. But we're gearing up, we're ready to go, and big things are happening. All right, everybody, thank you for watching.